Welcome, friends. This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com with your propaganda watch for September 10th, 2018. And since we are right on the cusp of the 17th anniversary of the 9/11 false flag attack, it is appropriate today that we examine some propaganda related to 9/11. And of course, there is no shortage of supply of such propaganda produced around the time of the 9/11 anniversary each year, this year being no exception. And surprise, surprise, today we'll be taking our cue from CNN. Not that they are the only propaganda outlet that is engaged in this type of disgusting skewing of 9/11 at this time of year, but they are the guilty ones in this particular case. September 11th terror attack fast facts from September 4th, 2018, which begins with this particularly telling slideshow. It's very interesting. So here is the iconic image of firefighters George Johnson, Dan McWilliams, and Billy Eisengrine raising a flag at Ground Zero in New York after the terror attacks on September 11, 2001. The scene was immortalized by photographer Thomas E. Franklin. The image has been widely reproduced in the decade since it was first published. And so there you go. There's, of course, the iconic propaganda image from 9/11, the firefighters raising the flag in the rubble of Ground Zero, which, as they say, becomes this iconic image reproduced, for example, on page 32 of the Record on September 12th, 2001 in New Jersey. And then on The Sun, for example, and Newsweek and a number of other outlets. And then it became so iconic that they actually restaged the scene at the World Series that year, involving, I think these are just random firemen. I don't think those are the actual, but anyway, restaging the scene for the onlookers at the World Series baseball game. And then you have, of course, on decorating the FDNY's trucks, and then you get commemorative coins and bronze statues. You get a commemorative stamp unveiled by none other than George W., and of course unveiled to the public amongst much fanfare. You get it on the hood of racing cars. You have t-shirts. You have it on commemorative knives. Is there such a thing as a commemorative knife? You get these snow globes. You get this one, which is particularly disturbing, which is, of course, some part of sculpture that has been created, but here it is being housed in the warehouse, and the firemen being hung by the neck to keep them upright, I assume. Commemorative plate, commemorative earrings. Earrings! Seriously, people are going to wear earrings of this flag raising. And then artwork and pictures and what have you. So this is the propaganda image that is the image that speaks 1,000 words about 9/11. All you need to know about 9/11 is in this image, right, guys? Because here it is, here's the destruction, but they're raising the American flag. It's this iconic moment in American history, and so it has been propagandized. And then, of course, after observing that little slideshow, then CNN gets into the fast facts about 9/11, just to get caught up to speed on what this whole war of terror thing is about, just in case you forgot or didn't know in the first place. And not very surprisingly, they go into exactly the type of facts that you would expect them to go into, the type that would be that is memorialized every single year in these never forget type articles. And I just wrote my own editorial about this, Never Forget What the Deep State Wants You to Remember About 9/11, where I kind of satirize these types of articles and the types of fast facts that they generally provide you with. So if you haven't seen that yet, I suggest you go and check that article out. But, it's the 19 men hijacking 4 fuel-loaded U.S. commercial airplanes. All of the official story, of course, exactly as it's presented by the 9/11 Commission report and the U.S. government. And they give a little timeline of the different things, and then going on through the years, ultimately talking about how the firefighters, oh yeah, by the way, these firefighters, these iconic firefighters that we love and cherish, and we will remember them forever. Oh yeah, they all started dying from the dust relatively soon. You have people in 2002 already having been declared dead from the dust exposure. And then subsequent rulings later on that lymphoma and lung disease and other diseases are being attributed directly to exposure at Ground Zero. And then they just sort of mention, oh yeah, Obama signs the Zadroga 9/11 Health and Compensation Act of 2010. So it kind of, oh, well, look, we're paying them a bit of money to basically take care of the fact that, oh yeah, they kind of died or are dying as a result of 9/11 still. And then, they just kind of gloss over that and then back onto the fast facts about, economic impact and cleanup at Ground Zero. And, oh yeah, by the way, the Homeland Security system was created as a result of, the 9/11. So there you go. And that's what you need to know about 9/11. Now, obviously, again, that's not what you need to know about 9/11, but it's especially galling that they talk about, oh yeah, and people are dying of the dust, and but don't worry, the governments came in to save the day with this Droga Health Act and take care of these firefighters, basically. I mean, yeah, they're going to die, but at least they'll have some good medical treatment while they do, right? Well, that's probably not even true in and of itself, but of course, the excluded part of all of this is what I mentioned in last week's New World Next Week. Christine Todd Whitman and the EPA and the US government knowingly, deliberately lying to all of the people who rushed into Ground Zero to basically kill them. Not just killing the people on the day, but killing people for years and years afterwards. If the brave men and women who had rushed to the World Trade Center in the chaotic days after 9/11 to help with the search and rescue had done so knowing the risks they were facing, that would be one thing. But of course they did not. They had been given false assurances by Christine Todd Whitman, the EPA administrator who assured the public just days into the cleanup that the air was safe to breathe.
You know asbestos was in there, is in those buildings, lead is in those buildings. There are the VOCs. However, the concentrations are such that they don't pose a health hazard.
Yes, they don't pose a health hazard. And of course, that wasn't the only statement. Please do go and read through the whole transcript if you haven't yet. Hyperlinks to all of the different statements and when they were made and the absolute bullet point case of how the Christine Todd Whitman and the EPA killed and is still killing 9/11 first responders is in this report, which will obviously be linked up in the show notes. Truly horrific. And of course, that is not the type of fast fact you're going to get from CNN about this. And so it is the case that the firefighters in this case are just a convenient prop to use for the propaganda of the mainstream establishment in, well, yeah, remember 9/11, but just kind of remember it vaguely with a couple of fast facts. I mean, don't actually think about what really happened that day or in the subsequent days and weeks. Don't think about that too hard. Just trust us. Here are the facts that you need to know. And look at the firemen. And aren't they so great? Oh, but they're dying now, but who cares? And on that note, for people who do check out the Never Forget article that I just recently wrote satirizing this type of piece, we had Corbett Report user SC Pat commenting, nice piece, James. You covered so many important points. As part of the Never Forget the government-approved official 9/11 narrative articles referenced, the emotion I think they are intended to evoke is a swelling pride of patriotism. And then he points to a particular picture of a firefighter crying while nuzzling an American flag, with the caption that they ran with on news.com.au, "This guy wasn't alone in seeking comfort in a familiar symbol after the attacks." And doesn't that just summarize what this is all about? Of course, people do seek comfort from familiar symbols in the wake of any major traumatizing event. And that's, of course, exactly what 9/11 was intended to be when it was written about beforehand. The new Pearl Harbor referenced in the PNAC document in the year 2000, talking about the catalyzing and catastrophic event. And here is the myth making that went on to make sure that was emblazoned in people's mind. Remember, 9/11 means we were attacked, but don't worry, the firefighters and other brave heroes are going to raise the American flag and all will be well once we go and bomb Afghanistan and Iraq, and we'll end up in Libya and Syria and elsewhere. I mean, whatever. Don't think about the details. Just think about this image. This is what it is. Swelling pride should be filling your heart every time you see these dying first responders, because that's what America's about. Anyway, I just thought this is particularly galling piece of propaganda, and I wanted to bring it to your attention, as we are, of course, entering the most propagandistic part of the yearly propaganda cycle. That's going to do it for today. I hope you do stay tuned because, of course, there is some very big coverage coming up very soon on CorbettReport.com, so please stay tuned for that. I'm James Corbett. Looking forward to talking to you again very soon.